All right. Hi guys, welcome to our second video of our video series of Money Matters here with Minnequaw Works Credit Union. We're excited to be able to continue our home ownership journey for the summer and our home ownership focus. Again, I'm Nate here with Minnequaw Works Credit Union.
And I'm Dave Anderson with RE/MAX of Pueblo, and I'm on the board of directors of the credit union.
And thank you for your service for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been fun.
That's awesome. Well, again, as we're kind of continuing, we're jumping into our homeownership series and a lot of education and great resources out there to kind of learn. But we want to help continue and focus that conversation even here locally into Southern Colorado and be able to meet with our expert and advocate here for the credit union. So tell us a little bit what's going on in the marketplace right now.
Okay, the marketplace in last month, June. New listings were down. 6 months listings have been down, and we're down for this year 17% compared to last year. Pending sales, which is under contract, were down 21%, which for the year it's accumulation, but we're down 8.6% for June. Here's the big one. Sold listings. For June, we were down 27.8% compared to last June, but we're down 29.7% year to date compared to 2022. So we're seeing actually less activity. Mortgage people have noticed it, and so have the title people, because the business isn't there. Average price year to date is $317,677. That's down just not quite 2%. And then the median price, which is the one I like to use most of the time, is $315, and it's the same for last month. But for the June, it was actually up about 2.7% to $325. So the activity is there. It's not what it was in the past. The other thing, which is the big thing that homeowners are not real happy with, it's taking longer to get the home sold. So now we're getting close to 3 to 4 months, where 2 years ago we were talking a week or two. But that we're getting back to a normal market. Even at 3 to 4 months is still considered a seller's market. If we go to 5 or 6, then we're thinking of neutral, and then beyond 6, and then it's a buyer's market. So right now we're still in a seller's market, but there's not a whole lot of inventory to deal with. That's the problem. And then getting inventory in the area that you want to buy your home in. So that's just some quick numbers. Home construction, the same thing. Through June, we've had we're down 46.4% year to date of new construction. That's a bunch. I mean, that's half down of what it was a year ago. So we're expecting it to increase, get more homes on the market as we see buyers getting off the sidelines and deciding to buy a house. That is one of the big things that we need. Okay.
All right. And then so you said, when someone's kind of thinking about getting off the sidelines, maybe they were in a rental property or they're, living with mom and dad, something like that for a while. How do you feel someone should get started with the home buying process?
Okay. First thing, it sounds a really stupid thing. Get a hold of a realtor and sit down with them. The realtor will ask you a bunch of questions, but it's bringing you up to date on what's going on in the market. The realtor needs to know what motivation, what are you looking for? Have you gone to Minnequaw Credit Union to get pre-qualified? You don't buy a home, you don't look at homes without being pre-qualified. It's a waste of time for everybody. That's just the plain looky-loo that Century 21 came up with 30 some years ago. And good realtors don't do that anymore. We don't waste our time on people that can't buy. It's not good. So the first thing is to get with a realtor, sit down, exchange information, and get a comfort level. If you don't have a realtor, call family or friends or whatever, and ask them who they would recommend, and hopefully someone that's been in the business more than a year or two, that's had some experience. I look at, if a realtor needs to be in the business 5 years before they know something. So that's the first thing. So now you're working with an agent, they're getting some information for you, giving you some facts, just kind of some of the stuff we just went over of what's the market like, what are you trying to do. The next really important thing is to get pre-qualified. Now, this sounds funny, but when you sit down with the lender, this is called being extremely honest. Don't forget about the car payment you aren't making. Don't forget about alimony payment. Don't forget about maybe a loan that you have. The lender needs to know everything about your financial ability. And then they can take those numbers, crunch them, and come up with a monthly payment that you can afford. And then that will equate to a purchase price, a price of home. But you also need, this is surprising, you need some cash. So when you start thinking about getting a home, start putting money away. In fact, you should have been doing it a long time ago. We had talked about, and I've mentioned it many times to people, they don't teach financial education anymore. So younger people have no idea. They just, they've got a credit card. That's all they know. It's surprising, and I'm not the only one, but other agents said the same thing. You need earnest money to go with a contract when you're purchasing. They have no idea what that word means, let alone having a checking account that they could write a check for earnest money. We had one and said, go back to your bank, get some money, and you're going to have to put it in a checking account or get a money order so we can give that to the title company. So that's really important.
One thing that you mentioned there is you're talking about education, right? So
lots of education.
More through it.
Yeah.
And I think that's one place where a lot of times people think, well, who can I go to? Things of that nature. You had mentioned, realtors, but here on the credit union side too, I think a lot of people think, well, yeah, credit union's a great place to go to if I need my deposit, withdrawal, or start a loan application, things like that too. But we can be a great resource in the intermediary, right? We're here to help have those conversations, right? Financial education, learning about everything as well. How can I maybe set aside or start saving for that earnest money? Maybe something I didn't really think about that first time, and look at maybe setting a secondary savings account or short-term certificate of deposit options, different things that we can do here at the credit union to help with that process.
And part of that, which is probably, it may be depressing, but it may take a year to get to that point, to get things paid off, credit cards especially, and get to that point. But when you get there, now you've used a game plan and you followed it, and now you're ready to maybe take the next step, which is actually to go look at homes. And because you come to Minnequaw and you got pre-qualified, and they said this is what you can afford, go do it. But you are going to need some cash, and probably quite a bit, more than $100. Earnest money on homes, you're looking at $2,000 to $10,000 depending on the price of the home, and then you're going to need some for your down payment. And that's the advantage of coming to the credit union, so they can do those numbers for you. You will get a sheet of what it costs to get a loan, and you have to. That's a federal law, actually. You have to get one, and so now you got an idea of all of what your expenses are and what you need and what it costs to get a loan. The only thing we don't know is interest rates. They go up and down, and during the day they will go up and down. So when someone says, "What's the interest rate?" Right now it's 6 to 7. That's the range. So now you okay, I know what that is. And contrary to what a lot of people think, 6 or 7% is okay. You aren't going to get a 4, you aren't going to get a 3, and you aren't going to get a 2. That was a game that the federal government was playing to get people buying stuff. And but a 7% interest rate is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Take 30 years to pay it off, whatever. And then the other thing about buying a home, let's say now, as opposed to waiting a year, is start building your equity. People in the last 4 years, 3 years, you know, we're talking anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 of new equity that they have acquired on their home because the value of the home's gone up, and that's irrelevant of what the interest rates are. So, sit down, spend some time, get educated on what it costs to own a home. You got utilities, water, gas, electricity, TV, internet, cell phone, all these things, mortgage payment. Oh, food, you need some food too. So that's the reason that you would come to Minnequaw, learn all this stuff of things that when you're borrowing money from somebody, they make the rules. You know, Minnequaw's making the rules. They got to be honest and fair and equitable, but they still make the rules. No different than any other place that you go. So unless you've got all the money in the world, you've got to start planning for this. That's why it may take a year to get, let's say, some credit cards paid off or a car paid off. You don't, okay, then when you start the process of you've gone to Minnequaw, you've been pre-qualified. There's some things that you do not do at all. You don't buy a new car. You don't change jobs. You don't be moving around money much because they're going to be checking, doing credit checks. You don't go buying anything. I kidded a couple, this is a lot of years ago, and they called me, they were at Walmart, says, can we buy groceries? And I said, yeah. But it's true, people start buying stuff, guess what? You go to the closing table, it doesn't close because the title or the mortgage company will do a credit check the day of closing. So there's just some things that you have to understand of how this game is played of buying a home. But there's some nice steps in here that will really help you, and you'll do really well with it. There's nothing difficult.
Well, you mentioned a few key things, especially for somebody that might not have been familiar with the home buying process, or they're a first-time home buyer. Things like your earnest money, other ideas. When you go away from renting, and now it kind of all goes on you then, right? So thinking of utilities, thinking of going and making that Comcast payment every month, things of that nature. Maybe some things that had been included previously with rent that aren't included now. Any other major items that you would look at for recommendation for a first-time home buyer, or something for just kind of getting an idea of what does that process look like for a first-time home buyer versus somebody else that may have been in the market before?
The biggest thing is get pre-qualified to do all that. I talked to I will say that I'm going to be guessing, a 50-year-old lady last night. We were some friends, and we were talking about, why don't you buy a house? She says, no. And we all looked really funny. There was another realtor with me and a lender with me. And says, I don't want that. I don't want that responsibility. I want to call the landlord and say, hey, fix my light bulb, type of thing.
Yeah.
And she's so adamant that you can't talk to a person like that. But what she's missing is the equity buildup. This is probably a year ago. A person who's renting, they may have their wealth, I don't know, it was like 10, 15,000. A person who had a home was like 250,000 of their wealth. That's a big difference. All because they were using a home, which is building equity for you. And so now you've got, after a while, the home gets paid. Even with a 30-year note. 30 years go by awful fast when you look back.
Correct.
And so that's one of the reasons to have a home. Besides all the other things that It's yours. You can do what you want. You're bringing your family up. You're creating memories. And owning a home, sure, there's some pluses. I was talking to a friend yesterday. I've got, let's see, well, the washer, refrigerator, heating, and air conditioning have all been replaced. My home's like over 20 years old. And he said, well, you don't have to worry about it for a long time. And I said, yeah, you know, you don't like paying it. But that's part of owning a property, though. You know? But if you're going to rent, guess what? You're paying 100% interest.
Right.
Now, 7% looks like nothing compared to 100% interest. So.
Perfect. And that's where that power of equity comes in, and you can use it not only to help pay down your mortgage and in the future hopefully not have that mortgage payment, but in the future if you need to be able to use that equity for other projects, other ways to be able to help to support financing of different goals.
College degree, getting your kids in college, yeah.
There you go.
Nice vacation. I mean, there's lots of stuff you can do with that, but it's still, it's a great thing to own your own home. There's no question about it.
Well, we appreciate you helping to share some insight and more education here with us today. As always, we're here to help support at Minnequaw Works Credit Union. So if you have other questions or areas that we can help to support on from a financial education standpoint, whether it comes to your home mortgage needs, financing, anywhere in between, we're here to help support. So thanks for watching today with our Money Matters series, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.